Winter can be very challenging. With a few small tweaks and a few great tips, you can thrive during this winter.
That's nice.
Yeah,
This sun's going crazy.
let's do it.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. And if you're new here, I'm exploring living abroad and taking on life and doing new things. So thank you for joining me. And today we're going to be talking about the dreaded winter. When I say I'm a summer baby, I mean that truly and really and deeply. Like, I don't play about my summertime. And moving from South Africa, where honestly our winters are hard when you're South African, but really not hard. It's quite the adjustment to move all the way to a place where everything freezes over, literally. So basically, this is my survival guide for winter to help you as we approach the new year and we go into the winter season. Even if you love winter, let's be honest, the winter means cold weather, shorter days, the end of daylight savings, and a long period of darkness. Now, if you're like me and you grew up in a place where it is summer majority of the year and only winter at very specific times of year too, you know that this adjustment can be quite hard. So this is for you who are just moving here or have lived here for a little bit and just trying to brush up how to make your winters better. This is for people who are planning their big moves to Europe, and also this is for my European babes, my people who are used to this winter, who are looking for new and exciting ways to tackle this time of year. So basically, we're going to talk about how to stay warm, how to protect your mental health, how to make sure you're getting enough sleep, how to remain energetic, and lastly, how to not lose your mind this winter. I just want to talk about daylight savings time because growing up again in South Africa, this is not something that I was used to. This is not something we do in South Africa. Like, the clock stays the same all year, right? So imagine my surprise when I first spent my first winter here, and this was 7 years ago now. And at the time, I was living in Hungary, and suddenly I was told that the clocks have to shift. I mean, I knew about daylight savings from movies and documentaries and such, but like, to live it is a very strange experience. For those of you that are not used to it, daylight savings basically means the clocks go back an hour, right? Which means technically more sleep, I think, but there's more to it than that. For me, daylight savings more than anything just means it's gonna get dark really early, meaning your days are gonna be shorter, and it means it's gonna get dark at times of the day when you're normally awake and alert and working or doing whatever it is that you're normally doing during the day, right? So after daylight savings, the whole point of daylight savings is to try and extend that time in which we have daylight. Though, can we call it daylight? I'm not so sure. So let's start with tip number 1, right? Leading up to daylight savings, which will be on the 27th of October here in Germany, and you can Google for wherever you're gonna be, right? In the couple of days leading up to daylight savings, I would personally start going to bed and waking up 15 minutes earlier each day, right? So this will allow you to wake up earlier, meaning you're seizing the day, meaning you are making sure that you're awake for most of the bright time, and also you're sleeping earlier, meaning that you start to work on your circadian rhythm, which is the body's internal clock that tells you when to go to sleep and when to wake up. And this is why I'm saying that you should start adjusting your sleep so that your circadian rhythm is not overly disrupted when the clocks change. This leads us swiftly and perfectly into tip number 2. And tip number 2 is very simple, right? We need to maximize our daylight. Sorry guys, you see me looking down, I've got my notes down here. One of the hardest parts of winter, especially for people who are not used to these winters, is how little sunlight you get. For someone who's used to endless sunshine or sunshine majority of the year, this can feel almost unnatural. What I've found to be most helpful is that I have to go outside even when it's cold, even when it's freezing, even when it's snowing, okay? We need to get outside. This is such a simple trick, but also, it's not something fun to do, right? Like, it's slippery, it's cold, It's not fun, but I have decided that I am going to continue to do daily walks outside even when it's cold. And this is just, again, to increase that maximum exposure and make sure that I'm getting some physical activity, because we all know the colder it gets, the harder it is to get that daily exercise in. So to me, two birds, one stone. Even a short walk during your lunch break can do wonders for your mood and energy. Natural light is crucial for boosting your vitamin D, which brings me to a super important point: vitamin D deficiency. Oh, vitamin D. Okay, tip number 3 is to always remember the importance of vitamin D in winter. I know I've said this before, but coming from a sunny country like South Africa, I've never really had to think about my vitamin D intake. It's not something that is part of our daily conversation, right? I mean, I'm sure I've gotten some vitamin D through, those supplements that have a bunch of vitamins and minerals all in one, but it's not really something that is discussed as the single standout vitamin that we need to focus on. Vitamin D plays a crucial role in maintaining strong bones, supporting your immune system, and even helping with mood regulation. Low levels of vitamin D have been linked to feeling more tired and even experiencing more anxiety or the winter blues, which is why many people, myself included, turn to supplements during these darker months. If you don't get much sun where you live or spend most of your time indoors, it might be a good idea to get your vitamin D levels checked by a doctor. Depending on where you live, they might recommend taking a supplement to keep your levels up and your energy steady throughout winter. And I can't stress this enough, but this is not medical advice. So please work with your medical practitioner in deciding whether or not to take these supplements. They're quite easy to get over the counter at the pharmacy, so you can also have a conversation with your pharmacist and see what they say. My next tip is managing mental health and seasonal blues. So we were just talking about getting our vitamin D and how vitamin D is important in our mental health and seasonal blues. And so I just want to jump a bit more into this. One thing that's true about winter is that it's really easy to feel down, sluggish, and isolated, especially for us who've just moved to a new place and don't have very many friends or very big circles. Those feelings of being down are sometimes referred to as seasonal or winter blues, or also known as seasonal affective disorder, which it spells sad. It's sad. Now, first, I want to let you know that it's completely normal to feel this way, okay? This is a normal feeling, but there are things that we can do to try and manage, and not only manage, but also uplift our mood. One thing you can do is use light therapy lamps, and what they basically do is they mimic the sun, right? The brightness of the sun and generally sunlight. And this can actually help boost your mood, especially on days when it feels like it's really, really dark and you haven't seen the sun in ages. Also, another very important thing is to practice mindfulness and connecting actively, right? And so this means for us who are far away from home with our family, friends, is making sure that you are connecting, be it online, scheduled calls, letters, phone calls, video calls, anything, playing games with people online, anything that helps you connect with people. A good way of combating these feelings. Of course, there's also mindfulness opportunities that we can do just with ourselves. This can be journaling, meditating. For some people, it's working out, cooking, singing, dancing. Whatever it is that makes you feel good and centered within yourself is always a good idea in these times. And so I highly encourage you to do so. You can also have a cozy day in, and I'll encourage you to take a look at my cozy weekend vlog that I posted on Wednesday, and I'll also attach it here for you if you want some ideas on how to make your weekends slower and more mindful and more cozy. I know it has to be said, the next tip is eating well to stay energized, right? Like, another thing about winter, and I don't know if this is just me by myself, like my own experience, but it's lovely to eat. Like, especially when it's cold, all I want to do is just like eat, snack, eat warm, filling things, drink a lot of warm beverages, filled with sugar, a nice caramel macchiato, little things like that, right? And I mean, treat yourself. I will never tell you not to, but it's also important that in this time that we eat well and eat foods that will continue to keep us energized. And finding that balance is a very personal and individual journey. So please try different things. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit more of what I do and what how I like to look at this particular tip. So transitioning out of summer, this means that we're going to leave behind our fresh salads, our cool colder meals, and move on into warmer, heartier meals. And there is a way to do this in a balanced and healthy way, without depriving yourself and without making yourself feel like you're not eating enough, but also not that you're overeating, right? So think soups and stews. Think of all the vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, other vegetables that are warm and hearty and healthy. These foods are not only healthy, but they're also comforting, right? Like mashed potatoes in a stew on a cold day just feels like a warm hug. The upside is that they are also filled with nutrients and minerals and everything that you need to keep you energized and keep you being able to engage with the day, right? Because winter can make us feel like we just want to crawl into bed and never leave, right? And I know I'm not the only one. And please don't forget about hydration in these cold months, right? Just because it's cold doesn't mean you need less water. I think in summer, because we get we're sweating, we're moving, we're outside, we might feel like we need more water, and we do, right? But that doesn't mean you don't need water in the winter time. So continue drinking your water. I've got water right here. In whatever format works best for you. I like to start my morning as well with boiling water with some lemon. That is so great, and also it's a nice way to make sure that I leave my coffee for later in the day as an avid coffee lover. So make sure that you are not only consuming teas and coffees, but also just good old water. Oh, sleep. Beautiful, beautiful sleep. Now, one thing about me is I am an insomniac through and through. Something I'm working on is something I absolutely despise. It's actually very hard to maintain much of anything when you're an insomniac. And so sleep hygiene, these things are very important to me. So let me talk to you a little bit about what I do and how you can get through this winter with your sleep intact. Winter actually can make it very hard to sleep, especially in places where there's minimal sun and it gets dark really early at 4 or 5 p.m., right? Because as soon as it starts to get dark, your body thinks, well, it's time to sleep. And this can completely throw off your rhythm if you're going from the sun setting really late and having late dinners to the sun setting really early to you having to go to bed early. And that just chaos, right? Chaos in your circadian rhythm. So here's what I do to keep my sleep routine in check. First and simply, make sure that your bedroom is optimized for sleep, right? That means that when you close your curtains, it's dark, so dark blackout curtains or blinds or whatever that works for you, because you don't want unwanted light filtering in, while you're trying to get some sleep. Especially in the morning when the sun starts to rise. You don't want that sort of jarring light coming through. Also, it's a great time to start setting a bedtime routine, right? A routine that will tell your body that when I do these steps, it's time to go to sleep. My routine is very simple. First, it always starts with me washing my face. A beautiful nighttime skincare routine. It starts to signal to me that there's nothing more, right? I've had dinner, I've watched, I'm watching TV, I've done all those things, and so now it's time to wash my face and start to get into the rhythm, right? And it's the smells, it's the feeling, it's the giving myself massages, any tensions, gua sha, anything else that you find can help you wind your day down. This is the perfect time to do those things, right? For me, it starts with skincare. Another great thing to add to your bedtime routine is how are you going to decrease that screen time? Yes, I'm talking to you. How are we decreasing the screen time? You need to try and stop watching stuff about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour before you have to go to sleep. And that's very important, right? So for me, that can be reading. I have a Kindle, and that's always a great, a great aid, because it's also good with lights, and it's not super bright like if you're reading on a phone screen, and so you are staying away from that added light. It could be anything. It could be herbal tea, it could be having a cup of herbal tea, it could be journaling, it could be listening to a podcast or to music, right? With the lights off, are we wearing a sleep mask? All of these questions are things we need to ask ourselves if they would work for you. It's so tempting to go online and see what everybody else is doing. But that brings us to the end of my 7 tips to survive this winter. Remember that this is an ongoing process, and you'll see as the winter progresses, I will be making more and more videos along the way, updating you of how I found my own tips and tricks, anything new that I learned, anything that we're throwing away, and any new things. Focus on keeping your sleep consistent, your vitamin D up, you're taking care of your mental health, and embracing the cozy season. You don't know, you might even end up enjoying it. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this video. Please let me know down below any tips and tricks you have to survive this winter. Like, comment, and share with anybody who's going through this winter with us, and I'll see you guys in the next one.